Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Cynthia Corser. I apologize. I've been sick for the last couple of days. Um, Let me introduce myself. My name is Cynthia Corser. I have 4 kids. My oldest son, his name is Jeremy. At an early age, I noticed little things in his behavior. He was overly aggressive, didn't get along with other children, didn't know how to really make friends. He was obsessed with video games and TV. The few friends that he did have, after a couple of days, needed to take a break from him. They could only hang out with him for a day or two, and then they would need a couple of days break. As he got older, he never had a girlfriend. Most of his friends were online with video games. He was extremely smart. He had a IQ that was 99% of his age. But socially, he couldn't understand what was appropriate and what was not appropriate. Where my other children had no problems with any of those things, so I could definitely tell a delay in his behavior. According to the DSM-4, diagnostic criteria for autism spectrum disorder, there are 5 main criteria for autism spectrum disorder. The deficits are deficits in social communication and social interaction, abnormal social approach, not being able to speak back and forth during a normal conversation, nonverbal communication they have difficulties with. They can't make eye contact, can't understand facial expressions. They cannot adjust to social situations. They aren't interested in what their peers have to say. It's very one-sided, very all about them. They have a difficulty making friends. They many times kids with autism have repetitious or limited interests. Like I said, my son's was all about video games, and he had to be the best at what video games he did play, and he would play them all the time. He wouldn't, if he could not eat and not use the restroom, that's what he would do. He would just sit there. He didn't care about schoolwork. He didn't care about failing school, passing school. He didn't care about friends. His obsession was strictly video games. A lot of kids with autism have repetitious behavior or have limited interests. Repetitious movements or speech, they a lot of times will have to line up shoes a certain way, or they have to touch a light switch certain ways, or have certain habits before going to bed. They have lots of little different rituals that they have to do. They become extremely distressed over little changes. If the classroom would change, the teacher would change around the classrooms or what have you, he would have a really difficult time with that. To the point of I would have to go pick him up from school because he would throw a fit. If the teacher was out sick and there was a substitute, he wasn't aware of it beforehand, he would have a meltdown at school. Luckily, the teachers were very accommodating. They usually would call me ahead of time and let me know if there's any kind of changes to his daily routine. A lot of times, kids with autism have extreme sensory input. Vacuums, cleaners hurt their ears. They only can wear certain fabrics, stuff like that. My son was diagnosed early with autism. A lot of kids are diagnosed early. I actually wish he was diagnosed earlier than when he was. I think that with him playing video games, if we would have caught it ahead of time, we would have more limited his video games, and we would have more limited his TV interactions, because he didn't learn social cues and didn't learn facial expressions like normal kids do. I think if we knew he was going to have difficulties with those, we would have pressed more on going outside and playing, get him in sports at an earlier age. We really didn't get him into sports until he was like a junior high in high school, which is almost too late. He needed to learn at 3-4 years old those facial cues that if you're staring in front of a TV screen, you're not going to get. If we would have known earlier that he was having autistic tendencies, we would have limited his video game activity. That way he would have been more social, interactive, been able to learn how to speak back and forth to people, been able to learn how to have normal conversations and make friends. I think that would have helped a lot. I think that video games really, really limit children. I think that staring at a TV screen makes it so that they can't learn facial expressions that are really, really important in society and in functioning. I think that as we are, this day and age, technology is becoming so prevalent that children aren't interacting with each other anymore. We're Skyping and we're listening to the microphones instead of engaging with one another, and I think it's really making a hindrance in our children, and we're seeing a spike in autism because of that. And I'm wondering if it is autism or if we're just socially enabling our children because of this. And that's the posing question of my speech. Is it autism, or are we socially enabling our children because of all this technology? We're not forcing our children to learn facial expressions. We're not forcing our children to go outside and play.